as soon as I open OBS. So I can still technically be on time, get the post out. Perfect. Usually I like to start stream like a couple minutes early. Not to say I always do, but that's usually my preference. So this time I was cutting it a little bit close because OBS decided to update right as I was opening it to start up the stream. Nonetheless, I'm back and I'm glad to be back. Make sure I have the list handy. Yes, I do. All right, awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's get back into Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. The classic inconvenient update phenomenon. Yeah, I've been having that, and I don't know if anybody else has this experience. I use Windows 11 on my PC. That's my daily usage OS, you know? So, like, every day I use like Windows 11 and stuff, so I get updates from it pretty frequently. I shut my PC down every night before I go to bed, like properly shut it down so that it's not like running all night or whatever. Let me close the blinds real quick. There we go. Hopefully the glare from the sun isn't too bad now. I don't know if anybody else has been having this experience, but sometimes when Windows 11 updates, I will get this message. Yeah, look, 4-leaf clover. I'll get a message sometimes when Windows 11 is updating, where it'll get part of the way through the update, and then it will say, looks like something went wrong. We'll revert the changes or something, or like we'll restart your computer for you. Right? Like it indicates that the updates were in some fashion not entirely successful. But nothing discernibly amiss happens, right? Like I'll boot up the computer and as far as I can tell, the update has gone through. In fact, let me see if I can confirm this. Let's see, Windows update attention needed. Couldn't be installed, but we'll try again later. Here, hold on. Windows 11 current version? Maybe? 23H2 or something like that? I don't know. Maybe, you know what? I just realized it's possible that this is because I'm part of the Windows Insider program. I actually had the opportunity to become part of the Windows Insider program when I first installed Windows 11. And so I was like, yes, I do want to do that because that let me get like beta versions and test a actually relatively feature barren Windows 11 when it was just starting, when it just started up. Is that a way for Microsoft to harvest more data from me? Almost undoubtedly, but they were going to do that anyway, so I don't really care. I remember when I was in the early days of me using Windows 11, one of the things that I could not abide by was that you see how there's this clock in the bottom right where there's these widgets. One of these is a clock where it says currently it is 13 hours 34, so 1:34 p.m. and it is Wednesday, October 29th, right? This was not a feature when Windows 11 started. They removed the clock, date, and time. They removed the date and time from your little UI when Windows 11 was first rolled out to, I think, the initial release as well, but definitely to the beta testers, of which I was one, I think. Or rather, like the Windows Insiders or whatever it was. And they had the absolute audacity. This is how you know customer service is cooked and just the state of the economy is cooked, because these companies don't need to be accountable for jack shit. There was actually a feedback form that I did go and fill out because I wanted to let them know, hey, there's no date and time There's no clock like date and time in the bottom right like there should be. You can go all the way back to Windows 98 and Windows 2000 at least. I'm almost positive Windows 95 had this too. And if you were in any way connected to the internet, you would have a globally synced date and time on the bottom right corner of your computer screen. They did not have the opportunity to report a bug or a missing. They didn't have a form where you could report missing features, right? They had, oh, you could suggest an additional feature, and then they had bug reports. So I put it in the I put it in the bug report that like, yeah, there's no date and time in the bottom right. Even though I am 100% certain that that wasn't a bug, I know that was intentional for a fact. I don't know why they saw fit to do that though. If I had to guess, it would probably be like, oh, for the same reason that there's no clocks or windows inside of a casino, and for the same reason that infinite scroll exists on social media apps, to keep you using your computer with no track of how much time has passed. But then I think they realized pretty early on, or pretty quickly, that people need to use their computers for like work purposes. So and that requires pretty time sensitive stuff like deadlines. So I think at some point they added this back. I had to get a third-party application that forced a synced date and time in the bottom right. In the early versions of Windows 11, you would have to go here, click on settings, and then go to time and language in order to see what date and time it was on your computer. And that was Windows 11 specific. No Windows release other than Windows 11 made you do this. I think Microsoft needs to fire whatever consultants they've been using. My personal opinion. Here, you know what I'm gonna do? There's two from Uproar Forest. So I'm gonna delete this one because I couldn't get it last time. Let's take these. Then, what else? Let's see, silent. I think I had one for Frosty Forest as well. Yes, I'll delete the Tiny Woods mission as well and pick up Frosty Forest. There we go. So, yes, on the subject of inconvenient update timing, that's been a thing for me both for OBS and for Windows 11. But you know, what can you do really? Like seriously, Microsoft is one of they call them the Magnificent Seven that basically control the entire digital economy. So there's not much recourse except for leaving an annoying comment and hoping that like they do something about it. Canyon Magma Cavern. Okay. I'm gonna delete this to take another Uproar Forest mission. So our companies do that to make themselves feel like emperors? Yeah, I think it's actually more so the fact that it's just consultants, right? Like, the enshittification process is driven by companies needing to make profit margins and funnel that money upward and keep line going up, basically. And so the only way for them to do that is to hire consultants that are really good at making things worse, because that usually makes them more money. So it's not so much them being evil as them being evil through stupidity. You know, like, What I'm trying to say is this is systemically incentivized behavior for companies that achieve this size to begin with. Microsoft is, like, undebatably a monopoly, right? And when you're in a monopoly, there's actually no pressure for you to make your service better, but there is still pressure for you to meet investment targets or like quarterly growth targets and stuff like that. So everything just gets worse. You see that consultant leak about a company logo? You'll have to be more specific. I remember everybody crashing out about the Cracker Barrel logo, which was pretty funny. Also, I think I need to talk to some people around town because there should be some story progression that I may not be privy to yet. Document showing how schizo it was. Is it the Pepsi document? Oh, all right, cool. This is how you progress the story. Oh yeah, I've read that on stream. Granted, I read an old version of it. Okay, cool. Story progression, finally. What's up, Whiscash? Dungeon in the Sea. Appropriately named Stormy Sea. Alright, very good. I need dive. Okay, you need fly to go to Sky Tower. You need dive to go to Stormy Sea. Well, there you go. There's dive. Okay, cool. So I just need to have it in my inventory is the thing. Solar Cave. Okay. Nice. Imagine if the CDs worked like White Snake from JoJo. Dude, that's crazy. Dude, Pokemon X JoJo, you get the fucking, you put the CD in and you like literally it slides into your brain. What does the title mean? Ah, Sparkling Image Car Wash. Welcome back. Yes, there are two things that I'm referring to with that title. One is something mentioned by Gotron, which is we are approaching the month of November and the government is still shut down. I'm going to not go to Stormy Sea right away. I'm going to store this and do some of the jobs on my job bulletin board first. The government is still shut down. We are approaching 1 month of the government being shut down, which means that all of the, like, tiny little trickle of money that federal services, particularly food stamps, are still running on, are about to run out. I actually have a video on this on my channel, on my YouTube channel, where I explain it. But basically, food stamps are still limping along because we're in an intermediate period where the government's not out of money yet. But once November comes, they are going to be, like, actually out of money. And that means that basically people are going to start starving. In fact, because of another thing, being the government's cancellation of food aid, the government has been canceling the food aid that it's giving to grocery stores and food banks that people will use food stamps for, SNAP, and TANF, I think, as well. People are already skipping meals and going hungry. Not starving yet, but food insecurity is rising already. And in November, that's going to get worse because now food stamps is just going to be gone entirely. They're not going to be able to afford food. And because of how marginal SNAP is, how little it lets you do, people are, like, hanging on by a thread already with SNAP. If SNAP is gone, if that thread snaps, people are going to die by the millions. First shutdown of Trump's second term is getting closer to the longest shutdown in 2018, I think. I think it's longer than that one. The only shutdown, the only government shutdown in American history that was longer than this one, I think, was the government shutdown that ensued as part of the Great Depression in the 30s. Let me double check that, though. Longest government shutdown. Oh, wow, it's an autocomplete. People are really searching. Sounds like we're going to set a world record. Okay, where is... Oh, no, wait, you're right. The most significant shutdowns include the 35-day shutdown of 2018 to 19 during Trump's first presidency, the 21-day shutdown of 1995 to 96 during the Clinton administration, and the 16-day shutdown in 2013 during the Obama administration. So yes, that's right. The longest shutdown would be the one from 2018, which was 35 days. We are already at, I think this is the 29th day that the government is shut down. So in a little bit less than a week, we are going to set the record, the historical record for the longest government shutdown in American history. And that's going to be about a week of people not getting food stamps. Like a full week. Visit Longshore. Yay. Has the food stamps thing happened in any of those shutdowns? Yes, federal programs have sort of dried up. Not completely, I don't think. Because they actually have an emergency fund. You know that emergency fund that I was saying that the government decided specifically not to use this time? They used it previous times. So even when there was no budget money to go to like the essential services, there's like basically like a little government piggy bank that they break in case of emergencies. That's enough for like a couple weeks maybe of funding these programs. And they've used that before. You know? Yeah, setting records already in his first year of his second term. Longest government shutdown in American history. Truly an impressive record to be setting. Thank you, Mr. President. But no, I think this would be the first time that food stamps would be this completely shut down, particularly because the federal government has gone out of its way this time to shut down alternatives that could keep food stamps running. You know, there's the contingency fund. The government has said it's not going to do that. There is the possibility of states picking up the tab, which many states have considered and might do. The government has already said that they're not going to reimburse the states from the money they spend on food stamps. And there's a sort of lingering threat, at least I perceive it that way. There's sort of an implication that the federal government might take action to prevent the states from spending money on food stamps in the first place. This is their idea of owning the libs? Yes, it is. The sick irony of it, though, is that more Republicans will suffer from this than Democrats. Or to drop the party affiliation, red states, very conservative rural states, are going to suffer much, much worse than blue states, which are more urban and suburban. There's more wealth in blue states than red states. Like I said in the last stream that is on the video on YouTube, because blue states are wealthier, they're going to be able to weather that storm for a bit longer than red states. People are going to start dying in like Kansas, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Mississippi, Alabama, like deep red states. People are going to start dying of starvation there before, say, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New York, California, Washington. You know what I mean? Wonder if they're doing this because they realize the public isn't desperate enough for violence from the Charlie Kirk situation. Maybe, but I already explained why I think they're really doing this, which is I think that the Republicans are just in a last-ditch effort trying to obstruct and buy themselves time to delete stuff from the Epstein files, and I think they're just kind of hoping that they're gonna run out the clock enough to do that. Because this, if anything were to cause widespread socio-political instability and like uprisings in the streets, it would be people, tens of millions of people, mind you. There's something like 40 million Americans that rely on food stamps. 40 million. The voting population in this country is only about 160, 170 million. That's 25% of that block, which is about 12% of the entire American population, right? There are kids that rely on food stamps too. I don't know why I mentioned voting age initially. 320 to 340 million people in this country, 40 million of which rely on food stamps. That's a clean 1/8 of this country that could potentially die of starvation or start slowly starving when this program goes kaput. Even the Republicans' budget bill would still have this happen. Yeah, I don't know the details, but that is one of the services they wanted to cut. They wanted to cut Medicare, Medicaid, and food stamps. Republicans have always hated food stamps. You can go all the way back to even the 1980s and 90s, and the Republicans were desperately trying to destroy food aid programs. Seeing the liberals' faces are like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. Yeah, I think the liberals are rightly mortified. And from what my mom has told me, I actually talked to her recently, people in the DC area are organizing basically mutual aid. Mutual aid groups are starting to pop up for people in like neighborhoods where people will need food. Like in the areas where people are really gonna need food, that they'll like start starving if they don't have food stamps. People are saying like, hey, we'll do buddy shopping, right? Like I'll buy your groceries for you, you know, on my dime, you know, I'll buy my neighbor groceries. I'll donate more food to the food bank because they're really gonna need it. But a spur of the moment like suburban neighborhood program is no fucking match for a like administrative public program that ensures that like millions and millions of tons of food aid are going to people who are food insecure. You know? Remember my dad said something about the Republicans slashing USDA funding by 30%. What is USDA? Oh yeah, United States Department of Agriculture. Yep, the Department of Agriculture is getting spending cuts too. I think USDA is also the department responsible for food stamps. So yes, that tracks. Have an increase of crime and they're going to try to blame it on the left. I mean, yeah, they blame the common cold on the left. They will blame hurricanes on gay people, which is a subject I will get to in a minute. Not gay people, but hurricanes. Well, the subject is always gay people because I'm gay, but you know, you get what I mean. Yeah, so that is fast approaching. That's just one thing that we need to brace for impact for, which is the impending food crisis that America is going to be experiencing, despite the fact that we overproduce. So we produce so much food. There is absolutely no reason that people in America shouldn't be going to home with a full, satisfied stomach every night and like basically be living the Mediterranean life of like work for 4 hours, go on your 2-hour lunch break, have 2-hour siesta, then go home, right? Like, to give you an idea of how wealthy America is, we easily produce enough resources to just do that, you know? Like, shit, we produce so much food that it legitimately becomes a problem for farming businesses where, like, the overabundance of food ends up getting destroyed, left in fields to rot, because if they tried to bring it to the market, if they tried to like give it to grocery stores, to food banks, whatever, the price would decrease. We're producing so much food that we have to destroy food in order for farmers to get the profits that they want. That's how much food America produces. Even with us exporting food, we grow a lot of food to export to other places. It's part of the reason that that we have so many preservatives and stuff in our food, is because that makes it, well, hold longer. So that it can like make it to other countries and be distributed there. Even with us exporting food and stuff, we still overproduce by so much. You know? Oh, I don't want to swap this. But again, as I was saying, that is only one thing that we need to brace for impact for. A scenario where, yeah, really agriculture should be the purview of like purely the public sector, right? Because if the market is introduced to food production, if food production is left to the market with market incentives, with the incentives for growth, profit, etc., then you're just gonna get like food being destroyed, resources being wasted, and like widespread starvation where there absolutely doesn't have to be, you know? The next thing that America needs to brace for impact for, as per the title. Oh yeah, also it is insane as well that the USDA website, official government websites, have been edited by the administration to say, by the way, this is the Democrats' fault or something. You know? Like, just public institutions are so fucking dead in this country. You know? But that, all of that, the food crisis, that was just one thing. That's just one of two big scenarios that we're gonna have to brace for impact for. We being Americans in early November. The other one is going to be Hurricane Melissa. Hurricane Melissa is, I think it's gonna hit Jamaica. It's gonna make landfall there, so it probably won't be as strong when it hits the coast of America as when it hits Jamaica. I say probably because it's also possible that it hovers over the Gulf of Mexico for a little bit and picks up more wind speed and severity while it's there. You know? But nonetheless, it's a hurricane, and it's I don't know that it's made landfall in Jamaica yet, and even if it's only a tropical storm in the United States, that's going to cause some significant infrastructure damage when it makes landfall here. And if you guys remember, there was another hurricane. What was it? It wasn't Maria. Here, hold on. Hurricanes recently. Tropical storms and hurricanes. Debbie, Francine, Helene, Milton. I think it was Helene or Milton or something. Yeah. Let's see, Western North Carolina. Yes, okay, I think it would have been... I'm looking at the NOAA website. Yeah, okay, it was, I think it was Hurricane Helene. That really devastated, like, Western Appalachia. And for those not familiar, Western Appalachia is, like, out in the sticks. You know, you could go to... You could go to, like... No, I failed? Oh, come on. All right. You could go to like a third world country and see underdeveloped regions comparable to the areas struck by Hurricane Helene in America. The infrastructure was just not there to deal with it because hurricanes don't usually go that way. Hurricanes don't usually hook left and hit the western side of the mountain range on the East Coast. They usually stay on the eastern side of that mountain range, which means like those areas, you know, it like DC area, New York, those areas are comparatively a lot better prepared for hurricanes to hit, because like that's where they usually hit as per weather patterns. But you know, the rural mountain regions on the eastern seaboard were just completely decimated by the hurricane, and the government dragged its feet with the rebuilding efforts. It seems either that or they just didn't have the money to rebuild in the first place. Like the damage was so severe, so much got destroyed that like it ended up being generational infrastructure damage, the likes of which we would have seen during like Hurricane Katrina. You know, areas of Louisiana still have not recovered from Katrina. There's going to be like decades later areas of Tennessee, of North Carolina, of South Carolina that still will not have recovered from Hurricane Helene this year, I think. This year or last year, one of the two. Disaster happened, insurance company filed for bankruptcy. Yeah, that's why insurers don't do business in Florida anymore, is because like it's just not worth it. Oh, thank fuck I have non-trader. So with this hurricane, if it's hitting Jamaica, then it's very likely that it's also going to hit a very underdeveloped area of the United States. Yeah, my character's suffering brain damage right now. You know, the southern coast of the U.S., so like the panhandle of Florida over through Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, or rather, I think it's Mississippi, Alabama. No, it is Alabama, Mississippi. I got it right the first time. Then Louisiana and Texas, that region, severely underdeveloped in terms of disaster preparedness. And even if they do their best to like prepare for disasters, they're still very poor areas in America. So it's like they're not going to be able to recover from whatever damage they incur, even if the government decides to help. Last update I heard was Melissa's on its way to the Bahamas. Okay, so it looks like it's going to run up the East Coast. In that case, Florida is screwed, so, you know, El Bozo's down there. Even so, a lot of infrastructure damage, and that's another, you know, brace for impact kind of moment. And by the way, this is after the government has defunded the NOAA, which is the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration or whatever. That's the Weather Service. The Weather Service got massive funding cuts. So we're probably not going to get good weather, like weather analysis or early warning signs for how bad this hurricane could potentially be, where it's going to go. You know, our state of preparedness is even worse this year than it would have been in other years. Okay, there's nothing here. Hello, Nidorina. You. Let's see, what was I think somebody in the Discord sent like forwarded an emergency alert. Yeah, for Miami, Florida. Catastrophic winds moving onshore, southern Jamaica. Last chance to protect your life. Extremely dangerous, life-threatening situation. Take cover now. NOAA Hurricane Hunter aircraft find that Melissa continues to strengthen with maximum sustained winds of 185 miles an hour, or 295 kilometers an hour for the metric comrades. Minimum central pressure has fallen to 892 millibars. That is extremely low pressure. Holy shit. Based on NOAA Hunter Air Force Reserve aircraft data. So yeah, that's pretty bad. That's a pretty damn strong hurricane. Are denying climate changes now? It's very difficult to solely make an argument about climate change from weather patterns, but ultimately, yes, you can take a look at the amount of, like, it's probably way easier to make the argument with the amount of property destruction that has happened from weather events over the years, right? Like, even as there's a state of, like, modern disaster preparedness, or at least how there should have been, the severity of these events on average just keeps going up and up and up. And it's not like a whole, oh, well, our measurement scales are just adjusting either. No, they're literally doing more and more damage each time, you know, even with similar states of preparedness. Because, like, with well, changing climate, with changing climatic conditions, it means that those conditions are getting progressively more and more favorable to the formation of these weather events. You know, particularly hurricanes. I think the most visible version of this is with hurricanes, because hurricanes in the U.S., in the southern and like southeastern U.S., tend to take a relatively predictable path or set of paths. You know, obviously, like, you have your oddball hurricanes, but like there's a region of the United States that's known for generally getting hit by hurricanes. There's also a region of the US that's generally known for getting hit by tornadoes. And that region has actually been moving, which has resulted in areas that are less prepared for tornadoes getting hit by tornadoes. You know, literally, you know, not even to say climate change as global warming, those two things right there, irrefutable evidence that the climate is changing. And we are very, very not prepared to deal with it. You know? But any one weather event is hard to pick out for like identifying that. I heard an EF5 tornado finally occurred after a 12-year absence of them. Really? Oh, just this year? Dang. Yeah, for those not familiar, I'm a big tornado fan, a tornado enthusiast, you might say. Yeah, the last time an EF5 tornado happened was 2013. There's been some pretty bad ones since then. And weirdly, Tornado Alley has been moving eastwards and southwards. You know? Like, you're starting to get more tornadoes in, like, Tennessee, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. You know, not to say you don't still get them in places like Ohio, Kansas, Oklahoma, and whatever, but it's like you're starting to see more of them in the East. Yeah. Trap Seer. Interesting. Nidorino, where are you going? Okay. And that itself, that is not evidence of climate change per se. That is climate change. That is a changing set of climatic conditions. Now I'll keep going. We defeat a couple more Pokemon, get some more experience. I feel like Massachusetts has been getting more tornadoes these past summers. Yeah, it's very strange. Tornadoes have been like starting to occur on like the East Coast. You know, there's still a relative rarity, but the fact that they're happening at all is like worthy of an eyebrow raise, you know? Like Massachusetts might be one of the furthest north areas I've heard of getting tornadoes, but I've heard of tornadoes in Georgia and South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, you know? And, you know, like you said, there's starting to be more of them. Of an anomaly of an EF4 in 1953 city of Worcester, Mass. Interesting. In the that is double anomaly. Number one, in a region of the country that doesn't commonly get them. Number two, in a city. Nice. So I got some rescue points and item rewards. Very nice. $100 rescue points. Cool. No, dang it. I keep meaning to hit yes there. See there. I'll do that. There we go. Let me save the... I've saved the game. Let me save state. Have shinies ever appeared in the Mystery Dungeon series? Yes. They do not usually appear. They don't appear by chance. But in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky, the Celebi, which is one of the story characters, Celebi is shiny in that game. It's pink as opposed to green. And in the more recent Mystery Dungeon games, for example, Mystery Dungeon DX, like Rescue Team DX does this, particularly like mini boss Pokemon have a random chance to be shiny. And I think other Pokemon do too. But in the most recent Mystery Dungeon games, Pokemon in dungeons can be shiny. In this game, I don't think there are any shiny Pokemon. So they have appeared in the series, just in a somewhat different capacity. Okay. All right. Now let's let me check the mailbox. Okay, great. Now let me look at something that I actually have a link for. Oh, Jesus. I am tired. Spent yesterday moving furniture and shopping for furniture and then moving furniture again. Here we go. I saw this and I actually thought it was interesting enough that I wanted to talk about it. Shoutouts to one of my favorite political scientists on the internet, Polling USA, which I think also runs the account for Polling Canada. I'm not 100% sure. Regardless, they are a polling aggregator and political scientist. So this again, it was just like a random thing on my feed. Voters are critical of some aspects of modernity, positive about others. Voters. And somebody actually mentions here, they kind of spoil it. Crazy that so many people endorse suburbanism. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the breakdown. Can I zoom in on this? I'll just make this full screen. You'll hear the Mystery Dungeon music in the background. Voters, in your opinion, have each of the following had a mostly positive or mostly negative impact on life in the US? Right? So you have very positive in the deep green, and then somewhat positive ranging to, don't know, somewhat negative, very negative, right? Green to red, pretty intuitive to see. This is the Likert scale thing. So for the positive side, we have the US becoming more multicultural and diverse. Overwhelmingly positive, net plus 50. This is what, voters ostensibly believe, according to a survey from Data for Progress here of 1,259 likely US voters. Again, polls are difficult to do. They're going to be lagging indicators if they indicate anything at all. So this is probably indicative, if of anything, of the state of people's opinions maybe a couple months ago, right? The US joining international organizations like NATO and the World Trade Organization. Very favorable, plus 49. Americans increased access to retail giants like Amazon, Walmart, and Dollar General, plus 46. The US economy becoming more globally interconnected, plus 37. Again, we're starting to see the incoherence. This is just a rephrased version of this. You name drop the NATO and the WTO, plus 49. You say economically interconnected globally, plus 37. It's the same question. Americans increasingly living in suburban developments, plus 35. I will come back to this because I have some choice words for that. Not for the methodology. I genuinely believe that this is more or less reflective of what people believe and how they feel about these things. No, my choice words will be for the people of America. Much of Americans' food being produced and delivered through an efficient global supply chain, plus 22. Many Americans delaying marriage to later in life, plus 18. It's because it's a pipe dream, it's designed that way. Yeah. Well, I'll get to that, but yes, that is part of it. Now we get to the negative stuff. Development of artificial intelligence. Somewhat negative at minus 4, right? People are pretty split on this, according to this survey, but again, lagging indicator. And your average person has no fucking idea what AI is. So it's possible people are still buying into the hype and whatever. People also think AI, and they probably think a real artificial intelligence, like a sentient machine from the Matrix, and not like ChatGPT giving your kid instructions on how to kill themselves. In fact, I think this survey, September 12th to 15th, 2025. That's when this survey was conducted. So I think this happened before that kid killed themselves as a result of instructions from ChatGPT. Like ChatGPT became a suicide coach. I think this happened before that. So this is likely different now. US jobs largely shifting from agriculture and manufacturing to information technology and services. Somewhat negative, minus 9. Was it a white man? I don't fucking know. I mean, probably. It was a teenage kid. They were high school aged. Again, this is another thing that I will come back to. Bring back the manufacturing jobs. Americans increase consumption of material goods, -10. This I'm mixed on, but again, this shows some contradictions with some other stuff on this list. Americans increase consumption of medications to treat pain, mental health, and other conditions, -25. Americans increase use of social media and digital technology, -29. People, we're in the territory of people really not liking this stuff now. Declining number of Americans identifying as religious, -32. Classic religion L. You know, by the way, a sufficient number of Americans are non-religious that people answered this negatively who weren't religious. Yeah, base. This should be no more people identifying as religious. We got better shit to do. Americans spending a greater percentage of their time indoors, -42. Okay, now we can start to unpack the sheer, like, harebrainedness of the mind of Americans in the aggregate to produce a list that looks like this of their opinions on the current socioeconomic landscape, right? There's some stuff here that's like pretty inoffensive and like good, actually. For example, internationalism is good. That's crazy. You know? Same with the global supply chain, as flawed as it is, and as much as capitalism has done its best to make it worse and turn it into a mess of tape and wires that barely functions, the fact that we have a global supply chain is a good thing. I'm actually kind of surprised in positively that people are mostly perfectly fine with people delaying marriage to later in life if they get married at all. Now we get to the really wacky stuff. This this question here is evidence of how much Americans have drank the suburbanite Kool-Aid. The fucking, oh, living in suburbia is good. The white picket fence narrative is unfortunately still alive. We need to do narrative manufacturing harder. 1 billion affordable housing units in the city. Everybody will have a nice townhouse or apartment in the city, or a house in a small town around other houses, and nobody will be like in a properly developed world, right? In a good world, suburbia would not exist. And I'll stick by that, because suburbia is a purely antisocial mode of urban development, right? Suburbia exists as distinct from a social community, right? Like it is defined by zoning purely for residential buildings, most often like low to maybe middle density, you know, detached houses to maybe like townhomes or duplexes with no commercial zoning around, and it's entirely designed around like car infrastructure. Yeah, suburbia is the entire, like, suburbia and the interstate highway system are mutually codependent on each other. They reinforce the other, and like without one, the other can't exist. And both of them have made life, I would say immeasurably, but it's quite measurable how much worse they've made people's lives. So, you know, the brain of the average American is cooked ×1 for the suburbia question. Now we get to Americans being cooked ×2. U.S. jobs largely shifting from agriculture and manufacturing to information technology and services. I have news for people. Agriculture is like, doesn't require that many workers in relation to other sectors, right? By nature of what agriculture is, a large field where you're growing food, there's going to be a way lower density of workers per like product output than for any other sector that you would see in, I don't know, a city. And this is purely again, drinking the Kool-Aid and like 20th century, mid-century virtue signaling, right? America was a manufacturing powerhouse in the 20th century. But manufacturing jobs fucking suck. Nobody talks about this. I'm genuinely, I don't know why nobody talks about this. Manufacturing jobs suck. Working in a factory, those are strenuous ass conditions. In like an industrial workshop setting, that is a strenuous ass set of conditions that we are all aware of. We all know the horrors that unfolded in the early 20th century, pre-New Deal factory conditions with child labor and like people losing limbs like from using dangerous machinery with very few safety regulations and shit like that. That is manufacturing work. It's dangerous. It sucks. It's intensive. You know, combine that with the long hours that people work. Genuinely, the only reason that people in America can work as long of hours as they do is because they're working service and IT jobs that don't demand necessarily that much of you physically as a manufacturing job would. That's not to say that you won't be doing some heavy lifting or whatever if you're in the service sector, right? That's just to say that like there's such a difference in physical strain that it puts your body and mind under, like constantly. So this again, like this is purely harebrained, right? There are still, you can go, if you really want to, you can look up the kind of sweatshop conditions that exist in the United States, by the way. A lot of migrant laborers, because of their fears of potential negative run-in with the law, they have a hard time finding a job. They're forced to work in sweatshop conditions, in the few manufacturing operations for textiles and like, I don't know, fucking hair ties and scrunchies that exists like on the West Coast particularly. That's what manufacturing labor looks like. And we've automated a lot of it too. Even with the automation, manufacturing labor is still like, it really sucks. We don't want to bring those jobs back. We want the jobs we have to be able to support people. That's what we want, right? Or that's what people should want. And that's what needs to happen economically for this country to, you know, get turned around. They replace you with a robot because they can work forever and don't need paychecks. Yeah, and robots, like a machine, does not have rights and protections the way a human worker does. It's just less dangerous to have a machine doing something partially automated in a factory than for a person to be doing that by hand, right? So like jobs were automated, jobs were outsourced because we still need all that stuff being manufactured. We just don't need people in such horrid conditions that like every few years there are massive strikes. Another thing that made manufacturing jobs worth it that would result in us absolutely not wanting them to come back nowadays is because they had union protections back in the day. And we don't now, not really anyways, even with the resurgence in labor organizing. So, you know, Americans, you don't actually want manufacturing jobs back. Nobody fucking likes manufacturing jobs except for the people who don't work manufacturing jobs. This is how you know, by the way, that people don't want, like, that people don't work manufacturing jobs in America because they want to bring them back. The moment the manufacturing jobs come back, they're gonna be like, all right, who wants to work at the factory? Nobody's gonna raise their fucking hand. Yeah, the pipe, and it's a pipe dream that's being sold to them. And the actual pipe dream here, like, the actual thing that you're idolizing with the return of manufacturing jobs is not the manufacturing. It's the fucking union protections and fair wages, you know? Even nowadays, manufacturing, because of when manufacturing was the most relevant sector in America, it still has pretty robust wage standards and union protections. Shit, I've looked at some manufacturing jobs and almost across the board, they pay higher and have a larger proportion of full-time status than entry-level service jobs, right? So higher wages, better benefits, right? Because they have a benefits package at all. The problem is the nature of the work itself, right? long shifts, potentially an overnight shift, like late into the evening or very early in the morning, 8 hours straight of like, well, backbreaking labor. And that's why the wages and benefits are the way that they are, because people were like, no, we won't do this unless you give us these benefits. And, they unionized much earlier. The service sector only really developed a lot later when unions had already fallen off a cliff, as a result of the government cracking down on labor organizing, albeit indirectly through enabling companies to just not let unions organize, Basically, what I'm saying is, shut up, Americans. You don't miss manufacturing jobs. You miss being in a union. Increased consumption of material goods. I feel a mixed way about this. I guess it's probably the correct sentiment to be like, yeah, we consume a lot of shit, right? What was I gonna say about that? I had something of a thought like very well formed, and then it just kind of left me. Oh yeah, because of like online shopping and targeted advertising or whatever, there's so much stuff in America particularly that is designed to just get you to buy shit, right? And that is extremely detrimental. I think everybody can realize that the way that advertising has evolved in America incentivizes way the fuck more, I guess you could call, frivolous purchasing, right? And that's not an indictment of anybody that engages in frequent small purchases or even mid-sized or large purchases, because the whole system is designed to tell you to do that, It's made super easy to buy something. Hell, to such an extent that like with Klarna and these other fucking buy now, pay later schemes for something that costs as much as a fucking pizza, right? Now it's like, oh, you don't even have to have the money to buy things. We just want you to keep spending and spending and spending, so that way money can still cycle around while we're siphoning more and more of it to the top. You just go into debt doing it. That is extremely detrimental. That's the one thing. The one small positive I see over like people consuming a lot of material things specifically, as they specify, as opposed to like digital goods, is that that's something real, right? Like if you buy a tasty burrito, you can actually eat that. Like that's good, right? Yeah, you can now go in debt for pizza of all things. But still, I think, yeah, largely this is pretty bad. The fact that there's such a crisis of overconsumption and the incentivization of buying so much in America, but that lands squarely on like advertisers and the business model that America relies on. That is to say capitalism, market incentives. We have to make line go up, and our line going up is contingent on investment and people buying things. So we have to get people to buy stuff as much as possible, even if they don't have the money for it, because otherwise that's not going to look good to our investors. Basically the entire thing is a bubble economy, right? If line stops going up, investors and shareholders are going to be like, I don't know about that one, chief. And they're going to pull their investment out, and the company could go kaput. It could genuinely ruin a company's finances if they don't consistently have line going up. And in order to make that line go up, they have to plunge people. They have to incentivize people to go further and further and further into debt to support the bottom line of the company, right? It is a toxic set of incentives all around. It puts you in debt. The company is barely scraping by. The executives are walking away with the bag. They can fail as much as they want. It won't matter because their wealth is measured in debt. You get me. I've said this a million times before. Americans increase consumption of medication to treat pain, mental health, and other conditions. This, I think, is partially a load of horse shit. Because, like, damn, that's crazy. People take medicine. What? I don't know how, like, on one level, I genuinely don't know why people would take an issue with this. Some of it strikes me as like oh, back in my day, we didn't have antidepressants. We just, like, hit our wives or something. I don't know. I don't know what else that could be about, really. Increased consumption of medications to treat pain, mental health, and other conditions. I don't know. Maybe it's gesturing to some kind of opioid epidemic thing. This is one that I actually like genuinely have a hard time understanding why people would think this. I hesitate to even guess that, like, oh, maybe it's conservatives saying, like, haha, don't take antidepressants, just man up. Because it doesn't seem like that sort of bias is reflected in a lot of these other ones. I genuinely can't figure this one out. If somebody has a guess, this might become a segment on YouTube. If anybody has a guess as to what this could mean here, let me know. Yeah, like, what's your point? Why are you telling me how life was in the past? Why does that have to do with modern society, right? It's a nostalgic feeling for, like, a past they imagined was better than it actually was, right? Increased use of social media and digital technology. This one's a pretty straightforward W. Social media has devolved into a fucking blighted hellscape of infinite scrolling and like fucking Nazi vice signal posters and whatever the fuck else. You know, the White House and the Department of various federal departments posting like AI generated memes, which is just white nationalist propaganda with the like Aryan square-jawed worker looking stoically at the viewer or whatever. So that tracks. Declining number of Americans identifying as religious. People are negative on that. El Bozos. Also, I will bring back the point that a sufficient percentage of Americans identify as non-religious now, that somebody was asked this question who identifies as non-religious and answered, yeah, I think it's bad that people are identifying as non-religious. Which makes this a similar version of the, like, a similar question to, like, the manufacturing jobs question, where it's like, yeah, we should bring back the manufacturing jobs, but I wouldn't work a manufacturing jobs. This one's like, it's pure like bullshit nostalgia coded, pure irrational thought. Like, yeah, more people should identify as religious, but I'm not religious. Like, Americans' brains are cooked times whatever. There's probably like 5 or 6 already. Americans spending a greater percentage of their time indoors. Yeah, this one's pretty straightforwardly, like, I agree that one's not great either. Isolation is never good on a large scale. You know, people spending more time indoors, it's not because of like, oh, I don't know, it's winter or something, so you spend more time indoors during the winter. It's referring to like a new working paradigm, you know? A new like working pattern where more people work from home, and the sort of social structure that was associated with urban and even to some extent suburban life has deteriorated just because of like, it's almost like the direction that technology has evolved in because of market incentives, the incentive to get you to keep scrolling, has also evolved to keep you inside because that's where you do the scrolling. And if you're outside socializing, if you have better things to do, or if there's like, if you don't have anything else to do but like go outside and, I don't know, go on a nice walk, go on your morning constitutional, or like go grab lunch with a friend or something, you know, if you do that, then you're not scrolling. So the incentive is to make you not do that and make you want to just keep scrolling. So yeah, I agree with that bottom bit right there. Gonna go to the Zootopia 2 movie, mostly just to get out of the house. Nice. I really like that plan. Thankfully, I'm living in an area that's actually very walkable now, and it's not a wealthy area, but it is walkable, so I don't have a hard time sort of justifying getting out of the house every couple of days. That's good. Or even every day, depending on like how much work I have in a week. So all in all, there are a lot of like, there are some issues where like your average person can pretty clearly see that there's a problem and will be able to correctly identify what the problem is generally. But this is also an indication of how cooked the brain of the average American is, right? Like, being positive on suburbia and wanting manufacturing jobs to come back, but also agreeing that, like, globalization in a diplomatic and economic sense is a good thing, right? Like, the increased presence of retail and the increase of the prominence of the global supply chain and global interconnectedness are fundamentally at odds with the aspiration to bring back manufacturing jobs, right? Like, these two are not compatible. But Americans support both of those positions at the same time because your average person is politically incoherent. You know? Yeah, supporting suburbia is inherently anti-walkable cities. Unironically, this at the bottom, spending a greater percentage of their time indoors, being negative on this is inherently at odds with liking suburbia. If you like suburbia, that means you have to be okay with spending a large percentage of your time indoors. Those two are intrinsically linked, but most people aren't consistent in their beliefs. If you were consistent in your beliefs, you would hate suburbia and hate, modern social media incentivizing infinite doom scrolling, right? But Americans, again, the brain of your average American is completely cooked. So they're like, yes, I like suburbia. No, I don't like staying inside all the time. Then why the fuck do you like suburbia? You know? Anyways. Now let's go to a second graph, which is related to the first one. This is, again, from Polling USA. So this one is a more detailed breakdown of the question about manufacturing jobs. A plurality, I realize my webcam is blocking some of this. Hopefully it's fine. You can see most of it either way. A plurality of voters feel negatively about the transition, the L grammar, it's negatively, not negative, about the transition in the United States to a service economy. This actually, I think I saw this earlier. This exactly confirms the point that I made, where it's people saying, yes, we should bring manufacturing jobs back, but no, I will not work a manufacturing job, right? It has a breakdown by gender and voting preference, right? Which presidential candidate you voted for. And we're going to look at the difference between men who voted for Kamala Harris. You can see it's plus 10 in favor of, transitioning to a service economy is a good thing. And then let's look at women who voted for Trump, who, by a margin of minus 23 here, say, no, we should bring back the manufacturing jobs. I don't like the service economy. These are not the people working manufacturing jobs. Just, I'm going out on a limb here with my knowledge of economic statistics. The Trump voting women are not in the factories. Some of the Harris voting men might be in the factories, but overwhelmingly the people in the factories are probably going to be the Trump voting men, or at least it's going to lean more that way, right? And they're only like -4. That's like pretty evenly split on whether the service economy is good or bad, actually, which is kind of surprising to me. But yeah, again, it's like, yeah, the service economy is good. On the one hand, you have the correct take that, yes, the service economy is a good thing, and it just needs to be like, you don't get paid fucking poverty wages for that shit. And on the other hand, you have the, yes, we should bring back manufacturing jobs. No, I will not work a manufacturing job type shit. Hey, and this even confirms that this is largely an aspiration to the union benefits that are associated with manufacturing jobs rather than the jobs themselves. Nobody actually wants to work a factory job. You know, what people want is the economic security that is associated with working a factory job because, again, consistently higher wages and better benefits and union membership. You can see here, under 50,000 household income, much more negative on the transition to a service economy than households making over $50,000. And I didn't see this part of the breakdown in the graph before. Like, this is purely just like, wow, damn, that's crazy. I love being correct. Yeah, look, this is a Statista graph that even breaks it down exactly what I was saying. Americans want manufacturing, but they don't want to work in manufacturing. And then they want to deport the people who would work in manufacturing. I can speak to this from a secondhand personal experience. A family member of mine worked in manufacturing, older family member, worked in a, not necessarily in manufacturing themselves, they were in the personnel department of a textile manufacturer. Their entire life, they worked there. And they had a very high turnover rate of domestic workers, you know, American citizens. They had a high turnover rate because of like 12-hour shifts or some shit like that. But consistently, they would have very low turnover of immigrant workers because the immigrant workers would be earning a much higher wage in America compared to wages in much poorer countries where they would be coming from, right? I'm telling you, manufacturing fucking sucks to work in. Share of U.S. respondents agreeing disagreeing with the following statements in U.S. manufacturing. America would be better off if more Americans worked in manufacturing. Most people agree. I would be better off if I worked in manufacturing. Most people disagree. There you have it. Plain as day, literally could not spell it out more clearly. And this one has even more respondents than the previous one. 2,570 respondents to this survey. Yes, I want manufacturing to come back. No, I will not work in manufacturing. It's almost the same exact split. Also, shout outs to the GigaChads who answered, no, America would not be better off if manufacturing came back. Yes, I will work in manufacturing. Does not elaborate, leaves. So the moral of the story, I guess, once again, is that Americans are stupid and they will take whatever narrative you give them. This is the narrative they have been given, is that manufacturing should come back. We really ought to put some elbow grease into giving them a different narrative. Like, hey, you know, working the receptionist counter at a clothing boutique is fine, actually. You should just be paid enough to afford rent in your apartment for that, right? Like, there's no fundamental reason that wages need to be so much lower on average for entry-level service jobs than entry-level manufacturing jobs. But they are, right? They don't need to be, but they are, because of the lack of unionization that's associated with the service industry, and how many of those jobs as well are part-time. You know, another part of the crackdown on labor organizing, because oftentimes unions don't include part-time workers. Anyways, I thought that was good to look at. Fuck manufacturing. We need manufacturing, but fuck manufacturing. We don't need to bring that back. We need to, like, we just need to fucking arrest every billionaire under the sun, take money out of the speculative economy, outlaw the stock market, do 21st century socialism in America. Everything is an employee-owned cooperative, etc., etc. The people will work 20 hours a week, if that, for a full wage. You will be able to afford rent in your apartment. You will have a nice time with a friend at lunch. I will now end the segment at the risk of rambling further. Now back to the actual gameplay. Yeah. I'm gonna put some stuff back. What are my jobs? Oh, first, actually, let me look at the jobs list. And then I will put... Okay, I just have Mount Blaze and Frosty Forest. So whatever jobs I take here, I probably won't activate. Not yet, anyways. Check mail. Great Canyon, Magma Cavern. If there's any Great Canyon or Magma Cavern on the bulletin board, then I'll take those too, but otherwise... No, okay, nothing. I'll take these two on Mount Freeze. Thunderwave Cave, Mount Steel. Thunder. Info. Some money reward for that. Dummy. I didn't mean to accept that. What does it look like though? A little bit of money. I have room for 2 more. I think I'll take Thunderwave Cave and Mount Thunder, even though they're both escort missions. These are like relatively early dungeons, so it should be a little bit easier on me than other ones. I think now I'll put some stuff back. Yeah, I'll take 2 max elixirs with me this time, because I am actually planning, I think, to go to Stormy Sea. Having 4 grass gummies for this is actually perfect. I'll keep a white gummy too. Because I think I'm gonna go to Stormy Sea. Imagine if the media tries to blame New York's food stamp situation on Zoran. They'll try. I don't think they can. They might actually like be at the end of their rope with trying to blame stuff on Zoran Mamdani, because he's not mayor yet. You know? I don't think he's even gonna be mayor until next year. You know? I mean, the election still needs to happen. Shit. He's just the Democratic nominee for mayor. He still needs to win the election in November, which I'm almost positive he will. Glory to Chairman Mamdani, of course. And then be sworn in as mayor in January of 2026. You know? Talking about bad fake actors. Yeah, I know we are, but like they approach things from a very cynical perspective of like not believing in anything. And I think they even have to recognize that like in their effort to try to get somebody else to believe stuff, right? You have to recognize just how stupid people are. And I think they have to recognize that like, okay, even we can't, like, we wouldn't be able to get away with this. Even despite how dumb Americans are, because he's not actually the mayor yet. We kind of have to wait for that stuff until like the day he becomes mayor, right? And the reason I say this is because there's some evidence to this effect. They have already tried to blame Zoran Mamdani for stuff, but he's not the mayor of New York City yet. You know? I remember seeing like a month or two ago some New York Post stuff from like articles from New York Post that had headlines trying to like say, oh, you know, such and such Zoran yet to speak on whatever in New York City, something about subway attacks. I don't know. That seems like something up their alley that they would talk about frequently. But it's already happened, and it didn't stick because everybody was like, dog, he's not the mayor yet. You know, if anything, I feel like it might have kind of backfired because it embedded in people's mind the assumption of him as the mayor of New York, kind of cementing like, yeah, he's the only person that really could be mayor at this point. You know, we got Stormy Sea there. All right, we got to get ready for Stormy Sea because this place has 40 floors. So let's go grab Engels. I need to go find Absol, I think. I don't know where Absol is, though. Level 26, 39, okay. How about, Magnetar? I think I gotta take Magnetar with me. Hello! Come with me, Magnemite. I'm gonna grab some Reviver Seeds, and then I'll head out to Stormy Sea. I'll save the game first, though, too. Alright, what will you take out? Give me... How many do I have? 6? I will take 3 Reviver Seeds, I think. Half of my stash of Reviver Seeds is going to come with me to Stormy Sea. And I am going to be scummy about this. I am going to save scum. If I faint in the dungeon, I'm going to save before I leave, and then I will just reset if I faint in the dungeon. You know? Go in here, save the adventure. Because Stormy Sea is a 40-floor long dungeon. I'm not kidding. I went to the wrong dungeon. Four zero. Oh, right, I have to have dive. Hee. Alright, let's go get the dive HM. Dive. Do I have the fly HM? No, I don't. Alright, now I'll save the game and I'll head out to Stormy Sea. I'm going to see if I can knock this out in the remaining time that I have on stream. Because what I do know is that at the end of Stormy Sea is a boss battle with Kyogre. I have to fight Kyogre, which is why I'm bringing a Magnetar. Oh, that started out easy enough. Get out of here, Shelter. Ow. Get out of here. Okay. Well, there are the stairs again. Don't mind if I do. Blast Seed. What I want, I don't necessarily want Blast Seeds here. What I want are, like, Sleep Seeds and Stun Seeds. I'm going to start talking more in terms of gameplay here, since I've gone through, I think, yeah, mostly what I wanted to talk about on stream. Sure, I'll go here. Why not? Alright, it's not much up there. This Kyogre is going to be rough. Probably not as difficult as in Rescue Team DX. Maybe not as involved as that. Although, wait, hold on. I have Sleep Powder. What am I doing? So I have an unlimited supply, theoretically, of sleep-inducing stuff. What do you have? Tackle, Growl, Mud Slap, Water Gun, Metal Sound, Tackle, Thunder Shock, Thunder Wave. That's pretty good, I think. I just need to get like a decent amount of experience in the dungeon here. I would like to, you know, I think I'd feel a little bit better about this if I leveled up once or twice. Oh, a Quick Seed, that's really good too. Being able to act twice in one turn would be really nice, because that would allow me to both close the distance quicker between myself and Kyogre. I think you start like a little bit farther out from them. But then also, I would be able to set up sleep and attack in the same turn, so I wouldn't like lose out on damage output necessarily. Switcher Orb. Info. I don't remember if orbs work in this game in boss areas. I know that in Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky, orbs actually do not work in boss fights, you know? But in Rescue Team DX, they actually do. I think they realize it was kind of an arbitrary restriction, especially with how difficult the boss fights tend to get. Ow. That Icicle Spear could be a problem. Also, if I get jumped in this dungeon, I'm in pretty deep shit. Even though it's a dungeon full of water types, you know? Okay, that's kind of rough. I gotta remember, though, Pokemon have much more HP in Red and Blue Rescue Team, like regular version, than in Rescue Team DX. In the level 30s and 40s, your Pokemon would still, like, your team would still only have in the neighborhood of 60 to 80 HP. And their stats would not be very good. And also, I think I've mentioned on another stream, Rescue Team DX does this really annoying thing where the enemy Pokemon have more HP than they actually do. Like, if you encounter an enemy Pokemon that's level 30, then when you fight them, they will have more than 100 HP, and when you recruit them, they'll have, like, 60. You know? Literally the meme of, like, when you unlock the boss as a playable character, and they're just way weaker. You. How many orange berries do I have? Just the one? I'm gonna need more orange berries too. I think that'd be... No, wait, I have 3. Okay. Round peach berry. Okay, I'm gonna swap. Angle's item. Yeah, and then I'll swap this with what's on the ground. I think that's good. Funny than some shinies are just disgustingly ugly. Yeah, I do find that kind of funny. It's like, oh wow, look, a new rare Pokemon, and it's just like doesn't look good at all. And then there are some shinies that like barely look different. See, because this seal in this game, I know that seal taking 118 damage and living means it actually has that much health. Ice Beam? Dude, that's so good. Alright. I'm swapping this Switcher Orb. Here, hold on. Swap those. You swap that for Ice Beam. We are taking that Ice Beam back with us. And I'm gonna switch this with Switcher Orb. Or just use hair dye. True! Yeah, I wonder why there aren't that many customization options for like your Pokemon and how they look. Surely they have to have like thought of that. They clearly did that with like your character and stuff. How's my team looking in terms of experience? Okay, 17,000. 2,000. Okay, he's pretty close. And 4,000. So I'm the only one not that close to leveling up, which is fine. And it's less eugenics. That's true. That's big facts. Yeah, Pokemon encourages children to learn and practice eugenics. Which is pretty bad, not gonna lie. And look at that. I'm already 25% of the way to Kyogre. That Slowpoke out of here. Get me out of this big-ass room, too. One of the nice things about the really big rooms, it's annoying because enemy Pokemon will show up very frequently in there. One of the nice things is that sometimes these rooms you can actually get jumped in, and the Pokemon are so distant from you and they're so far apart that it's like not that bad. No, they put the anti-homeless benches in the new Pokemon game? How could they fucking do this, dude? No, you know what? I know exactly why they did that. Japanese marketing executives love appealing to an American audience. They took that from us because I don't think they have those benches in Japan. They looked at the American audience and were like, oh, we need to make this game in a way reminiscent of America so that the Americans will identify with it and they'll want to buy our game. How do we do that? I know. Anti-homeless benches. They have those over there, right? I'm willing to bet you anything that a version of what I described is the reason that they have anti-homeless benches in the new Pokemon game. I'm gonna yeah, I'm gonna eat this blue gummy to make room for this orange berry. The abnormal amount of items here, I actually thought that this was going to be a room where I just get jumped. Another quick seed. You know what? Hat Scarf sells for a decent chunk of change, but I think it's worth it to just get that quick seed instead. Do gummies not, like, give you stat increases in this game? With how much you eat, I'm surprised you don't get fat. Never mind, I forgot about the food industry. True. Blowback orb. That does exactly what it sounds like, and that's not particularly useful for the Kyogre boss fight, I think. Only need 1,000. Oh, 16th floor is where things get funky. How about that? Okay. Alright. Hello, Spheal. Goodbye, Spheal. I don't think I care that much about having Graveler rocks. Not for this dungeon anyways. I wonder. Here, let me see. Pokemon Mystery. Wait, PMD Blue Rescue Team. Do gummies give stat increases? Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team. IQ Gummy frequently asked questions. Okay. Gummies IQ. Gummies and stats. Okay. Gummies and stats. When you beat the main storyline, you'll discover one of the more beneficial aspects of gummies when it's fed in a friend area. Okay. So the stat increases only happen when you give a Pokemon a gummy in a friend area. I see. So I should be using apples exclusively as my food source from now on. Gotcha. Yeah, if you eat it in a dungeon, you don't get the stat boost. Okay, that is fine. I'll just oh, I didn't mean to. I tried to have Angles eat that one, but I guess they don't have that in this game. Okay. Oh. Shoutouts to Metal Sound lowering special defense. That's weird. Yeah, they changed it in later games. They changed it in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Time and Darkness. So now gummies work the same both in and out of dungeons, where it gives you a guaranteed IQ boost and a chance for you to get a stat increase. And then in Rescue Team DX, they made it so that gummies actually aren't items that you can pick up and eat in dungeons. They only come from treasure boxes, and now you can only consume gummies in the friend areas, and they give the guaranteed stat increase. And they have a different system than IQ in that game. Sounds like doping. It's like fish oil or like Flintstones vitamins. You know, like how fish oil makes you cum better or something. Oh, one benefit though in this game that I think is very cool is that if you eat a gummy of the same type as your Pokemon, you actually fill all of your hunger. Like, because I'm grass and poison type, if I eat a grass or I think purple gummy, I will gain 100 hunger. So it's like the most efficient food source in a dungeon, which is pretty cool. Although I think they retain that in a Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky. And I'll just eat one of these. At Universe, I'd get poisoned by eating the wrong thing? You mean like grimy food or something? Listen, we've all resorted to eating grimy food in a... If you're a Mystery Dungeon enjoyer, such as myself, we've all resorted to eating grimy food when you don't have, like, very much in your food reserves, you know? The real ones know that you stand right next to the stairs and then eat a grimy food, and if you get poisoned or burned or whatever, it's fine because then you just walk and you hit the stairs and those status conditions get cured on the next floor. You know, some people who eat food... Do you know some people who eat food knowing that it will hurt them? Yeah, it's like... my dad will do this sometimes, but I don't think that's that big of a giveaway because this is just a dad thing. It's like a dad-coded thing where it's like food that will have kind of gone bad. But he eats it anyway. And sometimes it's just fine. Like, no negative consequences occur. But, like, you know... shout out to all the people whose dads eat the food that's, like, gone bad. Oh, I threw it at the wrong person. Might be. I'm gonna... Oh. Right when I said I was gonna... Oh, I kind of mean people who can't eat dairy. Oh, okay. Like that? No, I don't think so. I don't know anybody like that. Okay, great. Thank you. None of us can hit anything. Okay, great. Now, what I need right now is a status tile. Yeah, one of these. Great. I mean, right next to the stairs, so it's kind of useless, but regardless. I mean, there's people in my family who can't have dairy, or who, like, struggle to digest it or process it or whatever. But they don't, like, drink milk despite that, right? Like, despite the fact that some people in my family struggle with, like, dairy or whatever, cheese doesn't seem to have that effect for whatever reason, but, like, milk does. But then they just drink the, what is it? It's like A2 milk or whatever that doesn't have lactose in it. Or has the, like, special enzyme or something that helps you process it. Thank you, Mudkip. Okay, I'm gonna bring you back here so that Mudkip can help me pick up the tab. Thank you. Hey, Magnemite grew a level. No, I'm at 12,000 XP. What is Magnetar looking like? Only 9,000, okay. Well, I guess he is in the level 20s, so... Uh-oh. That could be trouble. Please use a move. Thank you. Get him out of here. Death by 1,000 cuts. So now I'm kind of down in Oranberry. If I find another Oranberry, I can replace, I can get rid of that TM for Taunt. Let me do this. Thank you. Nice. Work, team. You get out of here. And that wasn't enough somehow. All right. I got an encore. Too bad I just used my regular attack. 25th floor. Use Razor Leaf. Very nice. Use Razor Leaf again. Out of here. There's a room up here. What's in here? Escape orb and some money. I'll take the money, but not the escape orb. Okay. You know, maybe since I reset, if I faint in a dungeon, I might just not need an escape orb. Okay. Yep. Still kind of on the lookout for another Oranberry. That'd be nice. Petrify. Ooh, that's tempting, but I don't think that orbs work in the boss area, so I don't think I want to. Money's good. 7th. All right. I'm kind of not like exploring each floor to the fullest. Oh. Let me actually, I'm gonna make room for Mudkip to come up here. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. How's Magnetar doing? 7,600 to the next level. Good. 29th floor. Oh boy. Blue tops. Thank you, Magnemite. So clearly Magnemite, although he's helpful, he can't be that helpful. Probably going to be a support team member more than anything with Metal Sound and Thunder Wave, most likely. That's what I could imagine happening. I might even want him to just use those two moves exclusively to let me and Mudkip kind of wail on Kyogre. Okay, now I really need to... Okay. Stairs are not here. Man, I've explored a pretty decent chunk of this floor and still no stairs. There's a status tile. Not a moment too soon. Okay. Alright. I think it's probably time for me to get a max elixir up, since one of my moves hit 0. 30th floor, I'm 75% of the way there. And you are in Razor Leaf range, so I'm gonna let it rip. That's a really goofy feature. I think Dragonair does this, and Staryu and Starmie do this. Sometimes when they attack you, they'll just be this, effect, you know, like that little circle, and it'll just say they blinked. It doesn't do anything. It has no discernible gameplay effect. They just blink. Or maybe it does have a gameplay effect, and I just never knew what it was. For some reason, they just have some Pokemon that blink at you when you hit when they hit you or you hit them. I don't know why. You think there will be anything else that will happen that will be bad in November? Yes. I don't know what, though. It sounds sad. Why? It's just so weird. It's like whenever, sometimes when you hit them or they hit you, they just blink. There's like, it's such a tiny little thing that you assume everybody does, like if they have eyes, but for whatever reason they specifically mention it with only a few Pokemon. I don't know, it doesn't sound all that sad to me, it's just kind of goofy. Gang up on him. Not like that. Maybe like that. See, like, I don't know what that does. Here, let me look up actually right now if it has a gameplay effect. Blinking. Wait. It does have a gameplay effect. What the hell? The blinking is due to an ability Illuminate. When okay, wait, that's Explorers of Sky. Here, hold on. Rescue team, blinking. Blinking spawns another Pokemon onto the floor, in another room usually. Huh. What if you do the Smasher Pass with Pokemon, but it's lore consideration? The Blinking Saga. Yeah, wait. Okay, so it did the whole time. Blinking actually does have a gameplay effect in this game. Some Pokemon will blink if they have the ability Illuminate, I guess. When a Pokemon blinks, they summon another Pokemon elsewhere on the floor, like another Pokemon spawns in. I never knew that. That is such a subtle effect. Let me eat this gummy. Yay. Imagine if they do an SOS with their blinking. The John McCain Pokemon. Shoutouts to the people who get that reference. See there, it just happened. Damn, you spawned hella Pokemon. Okay, there's one. Well, I'll take that EXP for sure, you know. Oh, there's one of them. Get you out of here. Oh, there's the other ones. I'm gonna Razor Leaf you first. Then try to get you in closer. Just use Tackle on you, probably. Okay, yeah, and you know, good for experience. A little bit more dangerous, but really good for experience. Pokemon Z to A found a shiny in the first 5 minutes by accident. I still don't have Z to A. I might want to get it. If I do, I'm gonna get a physical copy. I don't think I want to buy digital. Although I'll want to see what the gameplay is first. It's because it's possible that like Pokemon games have sometimes had gameplay that didn't really interest me. Like that one Pokemon game that they made to basically be like a MOBA. or like you know, kind of like League of Legends. I had no interest in that game. Different from the normal game? Yeah, but I'm interested in seeing how. You know? Holy shit. You know, like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon has different gameplay from the normal series Pokemon games. And yeah, Tentacruel has clear body, so you can't lower any of its stats. Different Pokemon have different hitboxes. Let's see. I would appreciate if all my moves stopped missing. I think I would like that. Alright, 36th floor. 37th floor. There's the 38th floor. Giant Pokemon have a nightmare when they're trying to hit small Pokemon. I'll keep that in mind. I might like that game then. Might like the kind of combat that would have to account for that. Not to say I would like interacting with that specifically. But you know. If that makes sense. Was this Radar Orb? I don't particularly care for that. Ow. Jeez. I'm getting hurt on the... I feel the pain on Magnetar's behalf. He's kind of getting junked a little bit. He's still mostly fine. He's still gaining hella HP. That's crazy. Trying to get all the Eevee for the Eevee evolutions? I gotcha. Alright. I think this is the final floor. Alright, we've done it. Quick save. I can quick save, but that's just gonna... That's not gonna be, like, very useful. Alright, 40th floor. Here we go. The Kyogre boss fight. Let's do it. Oh my god. Witness the destructive power. Marvel at my awesome power. Alright, alright. Let's get it, let's get it. Okay. You are going to uncheck Tackle and Thunder Shock. You are going to uncheck Growl... No, maybe you'll leave Growl check. Oh shit, my moves didn't restore their users. That's fine, that's fine. Uncheck Growl, uncheck Tackle. And then my moves will just remain the same. I'm gonna eat a Quick Seed. Then I'm gonna toss a Quick Seed actually to you. Or maybe first I, Yeah, I'll Razor Leaf first. Then I will toss you a Quick Seed if I have one, yes. Alright, Sleep Powder. Let's go. We're getting the strategy. This is the strat. Yes, lower his accuracy. I wish Magnemite would... Oh. Well, that was easy as fuck. I wasn't expecting that. Dude, I was so used to Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX where they fucking torsion your testicular every boss fight. Alright, well, I guess I just fucking win. Looks like they couldn't handle the Neutron style. Nice. It's like, I'm all big and strong, you just curb stuff? Yeah, true. Alright, so that's Stormy Sea, I guess. Story progression, kind of. You know? So that's another step in the post-game done. I'm gonna go through town a bit. You are Giga Chad? Yeah, Bulbasaur just fucking goes in with the Batman-style prep time. Giga Chad, Mog's Kyogre, unevolved Gen 1 starter, fucking twerks all over Gen 3 mythical legendary. in his own crib. Fuck it, clip that. You know, clip me winning the boss fight. Why was that legendary? I retired. Yeah, imagine you're Kyogre. You get pulled up by a goddamn, by a goddamn Bulbasaur, Mudkip, and Magnemite, and you get your ass whooped in 2 minutes. I would just fucking, just take your pension and get out of here, dude. It's like, it's over. Imagine. Couldn't be me. Couldn't be me. Buried relic discovered. Oh, this is a purely optional dungeon. I don't think you need to actually go there. You don't need to go to buried relic for any story reasons. It's a purely optional side dungeon that has 99 floors. Maybe for my last stream, I'll attempt one of the 99 floor dungeons or something like that, but I'm really not feeling it right now. Oh yeah, that's right. Everybody like talks about buried relic when you come into town. I didn't need to. Okay, it just occurred to me. I didn't need to use a single one of my reviver seeds, despite being like kind of in up to my knees in higher level Pokemon and stuff. All right, sure. I'm gonna put back some of this stuff. Yes. I have let's see. I'll take the TM. There's some TMs I want to sell, I think. Taunt, Thief maybe? Yeah, I'll take Thief as well. Thief, Blowback Orb, I can't see myself using. Power Band. Thief, Taunt. This. Okay, that automatically takes out 99, which is perfect. Where is the, I think, yeah, I still have one Taunt TM. So I'm going to sell a bunch of stuff. It reminds me, there are, oh wait, okay. Pokemon that you can see, you walk away to make them spawn, makes it really easy for shinies. I mean, Pokemon games. It reminds me, there are some games where the boss is stupidly easy compared to the normal encounters. Yeah, I've never done shiny hunting like that. I've never been a shiny hunter, but all I remember was like how much harder it was to find shinies in like older Pokemon games, because it was a pure unadulterated 1 in 8,192 chance to find a shiny Pokemon, and you would that was the only way to do it. You would just randomly encounter them. I'll sell this, obviously. You just find them in a lot of games. Yeah, I almost feel like it's good to have the extremely rare rate of finding shinies and have there be no real trick to increase the likelihood of you getting a shiny, because it makes it that much more special when you do find one. And the whole gimmick about shinies is that they're not special in any way apart from being a different color, you know? Like in the old school days, like up to and including Gen 5, I think, was the 8,192, like 1 in 8,192 chance for finding a shiny. And I would go the entire game never seeing a shiny Pokemon. And there were times where there was actually a very formative experience I had playing Pokemon. The first time I caught and actually used a shiny in Pokemon Diamond, I was surfing in Mount Coronet, and I found a shiny Zubat, and I caught it, and I built my team around using a shiny Pokemon because it was so uncommon, you know? And there was no other set of circumstances that you could potentially rely on to increase the likelihood of you finding one. You just had to, you know, go in completely, like, raw. You know? I'll have 4 apples on me, I think. Apples, orangeberry, heal seed, max elixir. That looks pretty good to me. Pretty good starting inventory. I have a decent chunk of change, too. Eevee makes me hate that spawns have cooldowns. Spawns have cooldowns in that game. Interesting. Again, I haven't played, so I'll have to try it out sometime. Depending on what kind of game it is, I don't know whether I want to stream it or not. Thank you, Magnemite. Very cool. Why is that? Okay, well, I don't know what's going on there. Okay. Pokemon from ancient times. Oh yeah, Buried Relic has a lot of fossil Pokemon. It's an okay game for streaming, like any other game. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I just don't know if it's a game I would have that much fun streaming. We'll see. Shiftry knows where the Buried Relic is? Okay, so I'll have to go talk to Shiftry. Wonder what's higher than gold rank? Well, I'm going to find out at some point. Jungle to the southeast. Yay, I can go to Buried Relic now. Not that I will. I probably don't want to. Let me take... I think there was some stuff that I wanted to buy at the Kecleon shop first and foremost. Yeah, a couple huge apples and a max elixir, which is 450 total. I'll just take out my entire sum of money. I'll get ready for the next dungeon, and then I'll end stream. So that the next time I come back to streaming, I can just go right into the dungeon. Huge apple by... Yes, please. Oh, I should mention, I know this would make the game broken, but imagine if you can recruit the legendary. You don't have to imagine, you can. You just have to go down there and beat them again. And it doesn't actually make the game that broken. But yeah, you can. You know, Zapdos, Moltres, Articuno, you can recruit all them. Kyogre, Groudon, Rayquaza, you can recruit all them too. The secret is that when you unlock them as allies, they're not as strong as when they're boss characters. You know? Store this stuff. Very good. Let's now go with the remaining money that I have and get a friend area. Yes, I have 6,600 money, so I can get up to 6,500. Let's get Secretive Forest. Yes, I think that will be grand. I'm gonna basically be broke until I've finished buying all these friend areas, but that's fine, I think. All right, what do we got? Let's see. Mount Blaze and Frosty Forest are my priorities, but they don't have those on the bulletin board. So, let's see. Mount Thunder, Thunder Wave Cave. Oh, wait, my job list is actually completely full. Job list, Thunder Wave Cave, Mount Thunder, Mount Freeze. Is there anything on Mount Freeze? Nope. You know what I'll do, though? I think I will get rid of No, I'm not going to get rid of any jobs. I don't want to, like, get stuck in the min-maxing trap. I'll just keep what I have, and don't worry about it. So I'm either going to mount Blaze or Frosty Forest. Maybe I'll go to Mount Blaze. But first things first, I'm going to save the game, and I'll end stream, I think. All right. Nice. That was a good stream. That was a good stream. You know, as a kid, when I played the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, I remember the long dungeons being way, way harder. But, you know, I think that was just because I was a kid, and as a result, I was very stupid. So, now I will find somebody to raid. Oh, and actually, before I go, I wanted to mention something that I'm working on new stuff for both the YouTube channel and the Twitch stream. A new intro, new outro. And I've seen that other streamers have like text indicating, oh, sorry, might have heard split second of Hassan, indicating like their socials and stuff on screen. I think that might be good to have as well. Just basically some stuff to foster, like, encourage more engagement in chat, and encourage people to follow me on other platforms in a way that's not very, like, intrusive to the game itself. Depending on how much I need to put on the screen, I might even request a commission or something to make a pretty basic but like clean looking, not like tape and wires basic, but like, you know, not super ornate and distracting kind of a border for the chat and the webcam and whatever, so I can have some stuff there, but then there's like you can see the full screen as well, you know what I mean? But in the meantime, I'm gonna go back to OBS here and enjoy the Hasanabi broadcast. Thank you for tuning in to the stream. This was a very productive stream where I jumped a legendary. Legendary gets jumped by 3 unevolved Pokemon, asked to leave Primordial Lair. All right, see y'all later.